Mate, hey, I've heard rumours about you. You've been surfing the internet. Yeah, easy, isn't it? The hard part's waxing the keyboard.
Hello there, and good evening.
Tonight, computer crime. How secure is your credit card? And tracing your family tree using a computer.
In fact, I haven't even found any children born out of wedlock.
Hello, and welcome to Hot Chips. Tonight, we look at that global communications network, the internet. What is it? How does it work? And what about its darker side? It's not only a new frontier for criminals, it also carries pornography, well within the reach of children. Just how concerned should we be? Rebecca Latorno finds out.
Most big cities have their red light districts where sex and pornography are on display and for sale if you're above the legal age. The sprawling city of the internet, that vast worldwide network of computers, also has its red light districts, computer sites displaying soft and hardcore pornography.
As a society, we don't ban pornography, but we do restrict access to it. We classify our films, we keep it off television, we wrap hardcore magazines. But when it comes to the internet, kids going online can wander freely through the red light districts of cyberspace.
The issue vexing parents and lawmakers is this. In the brave new world of communication, censorship of such a vast electronic flea market seems largely beyond our control.
I don't think it's possible to censor the information on the internet, and politicians and other lawmakers who think they can do this, I think, are only deluding themselves. The technology cannot be censored.
As more and more of our children go online, the issue is hitting the headlines. But just how much of a problem is it? Hardcore porn, both text and pictures, does exist, but it's often very difficult to find, and for reasons of censorship, we can't show much here. However, most of the material is softcore titillation. And while the titles of some of the online news groups appear extreme, they're often harmless discussions about the subject.
I don't think pornography on the internet is any worse or has any worse potential than the pornography that you can get on the street. I mean, just the same as there are a couple of levels on it on the street. There's the over-the-counter and under-the-counter. On the internet, there's the same sort of thing.
This is lips.
Love tips of the day. Which one? For men only, for women only.
However, schools going online can have most of the pornography blocked from their computers by using an internet supplier like Usenet.
So here we have one. This is perhaps the kind of thing that schools would prefer to have access blocked to.
So that's the address of where that picture is.
That's the address of where that picture is.
And there's now a block in front of it.
Correct.
So the kids can't get to it.
Correct.
But the internet is a constantly evolving network, and what's blocked one day can pop up somewhere else the next.
It's not possible to completely block anything on the internet, but it is possible to make it more difficult than getting a pornographic magazine from a newsagent.
What's actually out there? I mean, how bad is it?
Well, not really explicit stuff, just like, I don't know, just like ladies and just normal stuff you see in magazines.
Hoppers Crossing Secondary College in Melbourne is realistic about the problem. They've instigated an honour system, allowing the older students to use the computers relatively unsupervised.
But all this freedom doesn't come easily. Any student that wants to access the internet at school has to get a form signed by their parents, and then they're issued with this pass card. From then on, the school trusts that student not to go deliberately searching for pornographic sites, and if they find any, to tell a teacher. Sounds a bit unrealistic? Well, if the students are caught doing the wrong thing, they're banned from the computers for 100 school days. And that's just about the worst thing that can happen to you if you're a keen internet explorer.
I've got to trust them, and if we don't trust them, well, we may as well pack this whole thing up and go home. But we haven't done that with the VCRs, with televisions. We've allowed them to use that. And if they use it properly, I think we've done our job properly.
And what would you do if you did come across them?
I'd probably have a bit of a look first, but then, you know, tell a teacher or something, because I go in there a fair bit for, you know, just interesting stuff, so I wouldn't want to be banned for 100 days.
I love it when you Blocking access to pornography at school solves one problem. But what about after school if kids are connected at home? It's no secret the net is used to distribute illegal pornography, sometimes to do with pedophilia and bestiality. Recently, a Senate committee met to talk about whether or not we can legislate to censor the net. Now, many internet users say that tighter self-regulation is the only way to go, with legislation as a last resort. They worry that the heavy-handed approaches of the law might just cut the windpipe of free speech.
We talk about free speech on the internet, but together with free speech goes a responsibility.
Doug Rickard is a former international computer consultant. He says that identifying people posting material on the net might go part of the way to solving the problem, but it would take international legislation to make it work.
I think one of the first things will be to make sure that no one is allowed to put information on the internet and remain anonymous. To do this requires essentially what we call user authentication. Right at the beginning, people must be authenticated when they log on to computers, when they use the internet, so that it is known the identity of the person who puts this information on the network.
His son James is a keen net surfer, but Doug says nothing beats parents keeping an eye on exactly where their kids are going surfing.
Oh, okay, this is the bucket filling up with water, is it?
No,
the bucket?
it's heavy enough that it pulls it down.
I think it's an opportunity for parents to share with children what is really one of the most exciting areas of curiosity for kids these days. It's really like a sort of a computer-based version of looking under leaves and things in the backyard. There's a whole environment out there you don't understand at all, you want to know about, and you can start anywhere.
The educational benefits for kids going online far outweigh the dangers of what they may be exposed to. The best protection for our children with these new technologies seems to be in preparing them to deal with the inevitable exposure to the red light districts. As they say, we'll have to learn to take the good with the bad.
It's always been this dream that a lot of us have had, I think. What if every computer could talk to every other computer? What if every computer, irrespective of who made it, which vendor built it, was able to transfer data instantly to any other computer in the world? The internet is a realisation of precisely that vision.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Back in 1969, astronauts gave us this memorable image, a view of Earth from the moon. The world appeared a very small place. In the same year, other steps were being taken, which would eventually make our planet seem even smaller. Funded by the Pentagon, 4 American universities began experimenting with a way of linking their computers together, using the telephone system. Soon, computers around the globe were hooked up, creating a vast worldwide computer network. The internet was born. This is the headquarters of Australia's most important internet connection with the outside world, the Australian National University Computer Centre in Canberra. There's an impressive bunch of machinery around here. Indeed, it's probably one of the most powerful computer rooms in the country. But surprisingly, none of that grunt's needed to run the internet link. Just the relatively small computers in these racks.
Over here we have...
Jeff Houston is the manager of ARNet, Australia's main link to the internet, and has been largely responsible for the introduction of the internet into Australia. Who owns the internet?
Everybody and nobody. It's one of the things about the internet that realistically your machine, my machine, and everyone else's machines that are connected to the internet are part owners of what is a common asset.
Well, if no one owns it, who pays for it?
You and me and everyone else that uses it. There's no such thing as a central service outside of your computer and my computer. The computers that you and I connect to the internet define what the internet is. And what you pay in running your computer and what I pay in running mine effectively pay for what the internet is in terms of its services.
In a way, the internet works like the postal system. Messages are sent in electronic packets, each with its own address. A packet is posted to the nearest computer in the direction of the address. The process is repeated by every computer that receives the packet, which could be a dozen or more, until it finally ends up at its destination. Now, it might all sound like a lot of work, but remember, it's all being done by computers, and the signals travel at the speed of light. Typically, a message could be sent anywhere around the world in just a few seconds, even if the route involves going through a whole chain of computers. But for ordinary folk like you and me, one of the most useful things about the internet is electronic mail. It's cheaper than a fax and much faster than a letter. But the real plus is that distance doesn't matter on the internet. It's just as cheap to email someone in Moscow as the house next door. And text-based messages are just the beginning.
A new mass media. It's not television, it's not radio, it's not newspapers, but it has elements of every single one of those. And it's a new medium because it's going to be interactive. And they'll be able to deliver sound and pictures into your home right on your computer screen. And you'll be able to pick sites from elsewhere in the world and download pictures and sounds.
So, how do you join up? Well, if you want to connect from home, all you need is a computer, a modem, and a phone line. Oh, and it helps to have some extra memory. Another phone line's always good. A healthy bank balance, lots of time, help from a friend who's already connected, advice from a computer expert to undo the friend's help, an understanding family, patience, and after all that, a good stiff drink. Oh, that's why they call it the web. It's full of bugs. Jokes aside, you will need one more thing, a number to call. To get that, you open an account with a service provider. In essence, they're just organisations that have a computer permanently linked to the internet and banks of modems for you to dial into. It's surprising how little there is at the other end of the phone. The computers in this converted household garage are part of Aparna, a non-profit service provider and therefore one of the cheapest ways onto the net.
How busy the internet is at the
There
time.
are already some 20 to 40 million people who can connect to the internet, and the number's growing rapidly. Indeed, if it stays at the rate it has been, some estimate that there will be 1 billion people hooked up by the year 2000. 1 billion people is about a sixth of the world's population, so it's probably wise to be a little bit sceptical. After all, exponential growth doesn't go on forever. But even if the internet enthusiasts are only half right, we could be looking at a revolution whose impact is as great as the introduction of the telephone.
It's going to get woven into the daily fabric of our lives. It'll be just like using a telephone. It'll be like using your car on the roads. It'll be like our sewer systems. We take it for granted. It's just, if I want to talk to somebody on the far side of the world, it'll be just as natural as me talking to you now.
I like to wander around the network from time to time, playing the role of cyber surfer. It's a very interesting experience because every time I do this, I'm never able to retrace my steps. It seems that every time I go through the network, everything's changed. There's this glittering new array of travel agents, shopping malls, small businesses and corporate giants as well. This is a very, very different world from the physical world we're used to. When you go down a street and there are these large high-rise buildings there, giving some sign of the corporate muscle behind the building, the number of employees, the glittering logo on the top of the building. The internet is actually a masterful leveller because on these pages, my presence is as large as Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation. And my capability to do business, to buy and sell across the internet, is the same as Rupert's. What we're seeing on the internet today is a new business. It's the age of the global small business.
Any capital city you like to go into, there will be hundreds of credit card frauds going on every week of every year. I would estimate, in terms of computer crime in general, we would have to be looking at least $20 billion a year just in Australia. We could virtually wipe out the national debt if we could get rid of it.
You get home, you're tired. You walk in the door to find a mass of bills tumbling across your table. The very first thing you do, of course, is sit down and scrutinise each one in detail. Well, may we be so bold as to suggest that you actually do take a closer look, particularly at your credit card statements, just in case you find a few little surprises.
We had one instance recently where a carrier lost $1.2 million in 4 days on 3 telephone credit cards.
It's everywhere, it's easy to do, and as we move towards this much heralded cashless society, it'll become even easier. Credit card fraud via the electronic superhighway.
I mean, let's face it, why would you try and rob a bank with a shotgun when you can dial in with a modem and use a computer?
Modems use the simple technology of the telephone to link computers together. And as the party lines get bigger, so do the opportunities.
Australia's about to be flooded by networks of different kinds, and there'll be personal information flying around those networks, including credit card numbers. These networks also carry with them a greater risk for our privacy, including our credit card security.
I don't need your credit card to commit the fraud. I don't have to possess it. All I need is the knowledge of the numbers.
So now you no longer need to physically steal a credit card. And what's more, the stolen number doesn't even need to belong to a particular person. You see, if you know where to look, you can find software which will actually invent numbers.
Now, which bank would you like?
I think we might go for the Bank One Indianapolis.
Okay. And how many cards do we want?
Well, I think we might need 5, let's say.
Okay. There's your 5 numbers.
That's amazingly quick.
The software has created those numbers using the same mathematical process as the banks. They may not correspond to an actual credit card, but the bank's computers will still recognise those numbers as valid.
In terms of getting the software itself, I really only logged on to a computer in the States quite legally using the internet and came across the file by accident.
But not all crackers have the luck of Ian Haywood. Many obtain credit card numbers by breaking into the computers of banks or card companies. They might then use the numbers themselves or cash in on a very valuable list.
One of the hackers from the United States was recently arrested for stealing 20,000 credit card numbers from Netcom. Those card numbers were then stored on a site on the internet. Fortunately, he's been arrested and the numbers have been saved.
But he could have on-sold those numbers by now, couldn't he?
Yep, he could very readily have sold those numbers to either other hackers or to organised crime.
We are now seeing hacking attacks taking place in Australia, similar to what has been reported overseas, primarily in the US.
And therein lies the dilemma. In Australia, there's nothing legally stopping you from compiling a list of credit card numbers or even selling that list on computer bulletin boards. And that, of course, makes it very difficult to control the problem. In computer crime, the law, it seems, needs a little reprogramming.
For years, most of our legislation has been based on trying to fit this new technology into the old forms of fraud and theft and so forth. And it's really inappropriate because those laws required a certain type of property, tangible property, to be moved and so forth. And that really doesn't happen in the new technology.
One of the problems of living in a democracy is that our legal system takes a long time to change. A lot of people have to be consulted. And what that means is when technology takes off like a rocket, the law is left far behind.
Butch! Come on, Butch! Come on, Butch! Come on!
In most respects, Mrs. Nora Kevin leads a typical life for a woman her age. Except when this 72-year-old has finished feeding the cat, she plays with her computer. But Nora's not the slightest bit interested in computers or how they work.
I look on the computer just as a tool, you know. All I want to do is know enough to be able to use the program I want.
It's the past that's inspired Nora's interest in the computer. She's using it to store details of lives long gone. Nora got interested in her family tree after her husband died. And with relatives going back to the 1600s, it soon grew so large, arranging the branches on paper became a real problem.
Of white liquid paper and...
often I used to have to rewrite a whole page because I put the wrong family in, you know.
The solution eventually came from Nora's son, Richard Kevin, who was a computer consultant. He encouraged Mum to put the family tree on computer.
She's a bit far ahead of me in some of these areas, particularly the communications things.
Really?
And I'm a bit put out that her computer's a bit newer and faster than mine is.
Whenever, years before, if I said, oh, I don't understand that, he once said, I said, oh, all this technology's beyond me. And he sort of stared at me and said, Mum, you're very intelligent. He said, you can't say that, it's just laziness. If you listen, you'll understand. So I took that to heart.
A program called Brother's Keeper allows her to record and organise her ancestral information. Type in a name and the connections are traced instantly.
I've got all his details.
So who are these? Who are these people?
That's his father and his mother, and that's his first wife. So, you see, I can then press a key and find myself because I was his second wife, and those are my children.
Ah, yeah, right.
So
how far have you gone back?
That's the furthest back.
1680?
We haven't got any earlier records because he was a Presbyterian in Scotland at a time when it was against the law to be a Presbyterian. He was one of the ones that was
an outlaw. What, have you discovered anything else interesting? Like lost fortunes, criminals?
No, nobody had any money. Everybody was just very hard-working, very religious. In fact, I haven't even found any children born out of wedlock. I'm not going to let that.
Traditionally, tracking down ancestral information means writing a lot of letters, and it can take weeks for replies overseas. But almost instant communication is now possible. So what are you using the modem for?
To access a bulletin board where there's Genealogy, family history.
Where have you had messages from already? Which parts of the world?
One from England, one from Scotland, actually.
But messages on the boards aren't always useful. So what are we discovering
It's a
here?
load of garbage, really. People use it for just chat, as far as I can see.
Are a lot of people using the computer to do the genealogy studies now?
Yes, I think so. I think probably it's the most popular use for a computer, because unless you write articles for the paper or write a lot of, you know, or play games, what else is there to use a computer for?
I think I'm quite proud of it. I certainly tell lots of people that I know that my mum's a computer jockey, and the way she's spending her time doing interesting things on it makes me look forward to having enough time in my own retirement to do something interesting.
I mean, I'm never lonely if I've got someone to talk to here, especially with the modem, because you feel you're in contact with the whole world, you know.
That's all from Hot Chips tonight. Thanks for joining us.
The death of television is inevitable, and it's just an obsolete kind of technology, and it will have to die.
Tomorrow, the big picture looks at the role of the TV anchor, from Walter Cronkite to the new breed of ambitious presenters. Has the cult of personality obscured the pursuit of truth? Find out in the Naked News tomorrow night at 9:30. Shortly, our ABC special, Cats and Dogs.
Yes,